Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Seek Therapy Podcast. It is me, Jasmine. I am here with my girls, Jasmine with the E and America.
Hey y'all.
So, how are we doing, everyone, this week? What's been your highlight? What's been your challenge? It's been a week. Anyone want to go? I can go because
You can
I
go.
feel like I feel like I've been reflecting on it. So I feel like my highlight and my challenge are one and the same.
Mm.
I told America about this, but I tweeted on my Twitter, would y'all want to see a day in the life of a high school social worker for black kids? And everybody was like, yeah, 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 yeah. I had a couple people that were like, oh, it would be unethical to show students, and first and foremost, I would like to say, I know that. Never in my question did I say, would you like to see me meet with my black kids? That was never stated or implied. And so, yes, as a licensed therapist, I do know that I should not be showing the kids. And I will not be showing the kids, period, point blank. So those people, I'm like, yes, I'm aware, And then somebody took it to themselves to just be have an ugly spirit.
This girl was upset. You hear me? Sick.
Yeah.
It was a very ugly spirit, And what one thing about me, I don't do that.
Hmm.
I'm not a ugly spirited person. In the past, I was, but I am no longer there, and nobody will take me back there.
I heard
Period.
that.
And so she's looking for some argument, The sarcasm was like just going over her head.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, you got this. You got it. Have the day you deserve. And so my challenge is just wanting to produce content, and people's negative shit coming back, which is to be expected because not everyone is the same kind of person as me, which they don't have to be.
Mhm.
But people do make content creation like make you not want to do it. So I just went private on Twitter because of the young lady who speaking the truth and lost her job because people are doxing, calling her job, saying all this stuff, saying she's unethical and discriminating and things like that. All because she said that niggas would have a better life if they went to therapy.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just caught wind of that. I've been kind of MIA from Twitter, especially Black Twitter lately. And so catching the back end, I was trying to figure out like, wait, what was said? Because what was
Yeah.
so mental that it cost her job and hopefully not her licensing.
It did
Absolutely
not.
not her license because she didn't break any ethical
Literally.
guidelines or codes.
None of them.
Even though, the folks that is
People have
mad
think
are trying to say
pieces.
that she has, but she
Right.
absolutely has not at
Right.
all.
And so that has been like a challenge for me because I've been, you know, putting out a little more stuff about what I'm doing with my new job, my tweets. I'm active on there. And so now it's like causing me to kind of take a step back because I'm like, y'all tripping. What's supposed to be good and helpful for the community, y'all don't want to hear the truth and are fucking with people's livelihood, and I can't. I'm
Yeah.
out. But my highlight is that when a raggedy girl came through my DMs from who knows where, I didn't drag her like I could have because life is dragging her enough, honey.
Clearly. Obvious.
And so that growth for me, because literally in 2009, the first thing would have been, bitch, da, 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 and That was not even my thought at all. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that, she gets the help she needs.
I would like to say though, my response clearly shows that baby got some work to do because I said, "Who are the goofies?" And my first one was, "Who the fuck are the goofies?" And then I was like, "Oh wait, let me take that back because I'm already gonna seem aggressive enough." Because what the fuck is going on? What's the
Literally.
problem?
Literally.
So I still got
And
some work to do.
and the thing is that people have commented that seeing my video has helped them decide on what they want to do,
Oh,
for their lives and things like that. So I'm like, ciao.
get the hell on.
I'm gonna let you, right? I'm gonna let raggedy motherfuckers stay where they at, and I'm gonna
Okay.
stay where I'm at. Period.
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 So what about y'all? How have y'all week been?
Go ahead, America.
Oh, okay. Uh, um, my week has been good. I've had a pretty solid week. Still trying to navigate a lot of the changes that I am making both in business and outside of business, I guess personally. Um, I would say my highlight and my challenge go hand in hand, just like yours, Jasmine. And that's just the fact that I think what I came to terms with this week is that it is okay that in this season, if my friendships don't look how they looked once upon a time, and allowing myself to acknowledge that, and also just be okay with it and start the grieving process, right? Like for the longest, there were certain relationships that changed. I talked about that a little bit, maybe episode 1 or 2, but just like seeing the support change and seeing the difference in how people engage. And so at this point, just letting it be, right? Like I don't need to start engage in those relationships again. It's completely fine. I'm gonna leave you where you are. You can stay over there, especially when I realize the reason. Like I want to re-engage and start this friendship over or reconnect just to say that I got friends. Nah, I'm good.
Right.
So
Because
like,
because the friends that are there for you and you don't have to ask
right,
for support.
right,
Like I feel like quality is better than
right.
quantity.
Absolutely. And spending more time paying attention to the people that do show up versus wondering why the ones who don't show up don't. So that has been both a highlight and a challenge because I'm accepting the fact that I have to grieve that and allowing myself to grieve that and knowing that it's not okay right now. Like I'm 38 hot. I am. And I get to be 38 hot. And then as I maneuver through this new season, the same way I tell folks, like you got to let go so that you can bring in, same goes for me. So I have to let those things go so that I can bring in the friendships that I deserve and desire.
Exactly. And you know how I feel about this because
I
I
know.
let I let that shit go. I just saw a tweet talking about like practice letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Let go of shit that doesn't serve you
Mm-hmm.
and watch the things that you do want
Yep.
come into your life.
Every
So
single
I'm
time.
proud of you, girl.
Thank you,
It's
girl.
growing pains,
And it
but
is.
you're
Yeah.
gonna come out on top.
Period. Because I do every single time. Okay. Because I'm one of God's favorite. Okay.
Mm.
Getting into it. All right. So,
I like that. No, I agree 100% with that, America. Um, yeah, growing pains.
mm-hmm.
For me, I would say a highlight is just to be honest, my family just getting used to our new norm.
Mm.
The past couple of weeks, we've had um, just new things, new celebratory things happen, and it's everyone always says after loss of a loved one, those first are tough. So that's been a challenge for myself and my loved ones. Um, just the absence of my younger cousin, it has a hole in our family, so we're just trying to cope.
Mm.
Uh, a highlight for me would be that I'm finding myself more naturally in the flow of what benefits me,
Mm.
what make me happy.
Mhm.
Whereas not long ago, but I'm 30 now, so I can say, well, in my 20s,
Hey.
I know
when
that's
things
right.
were different, I would let fears or my limitations of what I think I'm capable of, what I should strive for, get in the way. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding myself kind of naturally just leaning into like, you know what, fuck it.
Mhm.
This experience of life as a human, like there's something beyond it. There has to be, so um it may seem a little morbid, but to know that I have someone I love so dearly on the other side when I get there, it kind of takes that limitation off a little bit, you
Mhm.
know, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's just kind of like what I've been processing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I encourage everyone to seek grief counseling. Um, and if you have an employer, which is obviously a thing in America, this might be another topic, but if you have an employer in which you feel comfortable expressing that you need grief counseling and weeks go by and services are not rendered, and you find yourself in meetings in which you're being referred to as family, uh, create space for yourself and let people know what you need.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, hope I hold those in leadership accountable. If you're going to call me family in this meeting, then I'm
Right.
going to you and expect that when I voice what I need, that accommodations and at least pointing me in the right direction as an
Mhm.
Yep.
would be met. So yeah,
Advocating for yourself.
That's
Period.
right. Because if you don't tell people, they're not gonna know,
Right.
right.
and they damn sure not gonna ask.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
No.
No. So, I love to put the people on to the new stuff that I'm listening to. Still Beyonce, but I won't tell y'all. Things that I am working out to, listening to, reading, all of that. And so I just want to talk about my Nunu, which has been having a strict morning routine. If y'all see me on Instagram up at 4:55 taking my pre-workout, about to get on the bike,
I've
like
seen.
that is my routine. Like I get up, 4:50 alarm goes off. I'm like, just get up, you know. Just get up. don't don't be sitting here trying to bargain with yourself. Get up. Get up, got my workout in, on the Peloton, either do the bike or the bike boot camp, have a shower without having to rush. Well, sometimes I am rushing because I like to relax while I'm stretching. Um, but, generally, and having my clothes ready, boom, bam, 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 bam.
Mhm.
It makes my day go with ease. And I don't have anything lingering over my head for when I get off of work
Mhm.
because chances are I have a private client whenever I get off work. And
Mhm.
so I'm for damn sure not going to feel like working out after all that.
Right.
And so I found for me having this set schedule where I start off with self care, moving my body, that has been so helpful with this transition because now I'm not working from home anymore. I'm
Mhm.
at the school. And
Mhm.
so it's been great. I feel good. I feel positive. I feel like this is a great change. And so having that morning routine really plays a big role. So create a morning routine that works for you and see how your life transforms, friend.
As somebody who also gets up at 4 in the morning, I think it's important to tell people that that shit ain't easy. And
It's
you
Mm,
said
not.
that with such a pep, and it was real cute. And I was thinking that shit don't look like that for me. Cause baby, when that alarm go off, I'd be pissed off, tight. But of course, the reframe is not I have to, I get to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm doing this because if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna have the chance to do it later. This is setting
Right.
me up, but it's not easy. So
It's not.
not to step on your new, but for people listening, if you're trying to start a morning routine, understand that you might not feel like how Jasmine feels at first, and that's okay. You might be in it for a while, like me, and still say, fuck this shit 17 times as you roll out the bed. And that's okay too.
It
Yeah.
is. And just
Yeah.
acknowledge where you are.
Okay.
You know,
I
it's
like,
just about taking the step.
Yes.
I
That's
feel
what's important.
on 3 different ends of this spectrum because I am a snoozer. So all of our listeners out there who are snoozers, Jasmine's lifestyle is goals. There are times that I have been sitting at my desk because I get to work at 8, and I see Jasmine that she's working out, and I'm like, yo, it's like 5 a.m. Like, what is happening? So yeah, shout out to you. Yeah, but I think that that accountability. I mean, yeah, it's real easy just to be like, ooh, it's comfortable and warm right where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So shout out to you.
I appreciate that, man. That shit is hard. Shit.
It is.
It is. And I used to be a snoozer, but then I was like, let me just get up.
One. I'll be like you.
Does anybody else have a new to put the people on to?
Well, since you talked about morning, I could talk about night and just like the importance of shutting down and disconnecting from the day. So I still am working from home. Y'all not gonna catch me outside to probably 23 or 24 at this point. The way y'all keep playing, I won't be outside then either. But so what I have found to be really important is creating a separation between the end of the workday. So when I'm done seeing clients and then trying to transition into, okay, I'm now no longer with my therapist hat on and business owner, but now I'm a whole human who gets to just be, even though I really don't get to just be. But anyway, so creating a transition routine around the end of the workday. So doing brain dumping at the end, writing out the to-do list and the notes that kind of come to my mind for the things that I want to do. And then centering the nighttime part really around trying to wind down so that I can then get in the bed and my brain isn't so overactive, because that's been new during the pandemic. Like my brain is on 50 all the time. And so with that has also been incorporating a lot more bedtime meditation, nighttime meditation. Shout out to Peloton. Ross is the end all be all of meditation. And so you put Mr. Sleep on, and I don't care if it's 15 minutes after he says this is Ross with Peloton, you probably hear 10 more seconds and then it's a wrap. And so that has been really helpful too, to make sure that the rest is there, but also just being able to disconnect.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. Oh, for me, it's been really just getting better in tune with my body.
Mm.
I've done my research, done some reading, and I carry a lot of trauma in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And so just moving again and flexibility. I've been doing reformer Pilates for a month now, and seeing some difference more in just how my body is even like laying down when I go to sleep. My up to my earlobes, which is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just kind of just undoing the knots, both physically and the work internally and everything. I'm in between having a therapist. So while it's important to note that a surgeon wouldn't perform surgery on themselves, as mental health providers, we are professionals, however, so those of us in the field, we can't do it for ourselves. But in the meantime, using the skills that I know to kind of keep me afloat for the time being. I'm making some changes professionally that I'm really excited about. I have some interviews coming up this week. And yeah, that I'm like looking forward to.
Okay, interviews, increase, influx, abundance.
Period.
Sending
Let,
all the
Receive,
vibes your way.
receive.
let it
Yes.
flow. Yeah.
Yes, that's exciting. New shit.
Ooh.
Yes. Well, I wanted to have a like good little transition, but I didn't think about it. So fuck it. We're talking about boundaries.
It is what it is.
You know, sometimes I really can come up with some stuff and I'm like, dang, that was smooth. Today I didn't. I didn't have it in me, but I got some good shit about boundaries because I am great with setting them with people, family. You know, once you set boundaries with family, it's like anybody can get these boundaries.
Correct.
I found
Oh,
for me because that I feel has been the scariest part of like becoming an adult is like
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries with parents, right? Because growing up, like you have to listen to what your parents say.
yeah.
And so once you become an adult, like it's a hard lesson to learn, like how to navigate this because yes, I am your child, but I am not a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have to do everything that you want me to. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to live my life in a way that makes sense to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, ooh, as someone who was like a type A parent pleasing, well, not during middle school or elementary school, we'll say. But as someone who was like, you know, kind of doing what I have to do all the time, what they tell me, that first couple of times I had to set boundaries was scary. Scary.
Mm-hmm.
But like I tell my clients, you know, the more that you do it, the easier it gets. Just like
Mm-hmm.
working out. Like, yes, it's hard when you first start, but the more you get consistent, the easier it gets generally, right? Um, and so, how do you both describe boundaries to your clients? Like, if clients were to ask, like, what are boundaries?
When I define boundaries, I make a very important distinction between emotional walls and lines in the sand. So, to me, when we are setting boundaries, we are letting somebody know that this is what we need within a relationship, right? The line is important because you can see over it. If we can see over it, we can still make connections. We can have healthy relationships. If we build these walls, which is what I think we tend to do, we go from no boundaries to walls because fuck it, I'm gonna teach people da da da. And so showing that like you see over it and that boundaries are really about you. You are letting the other person know what it is that you need in that relationship and how it looks for you. To
Right.
your point about setting boundaries with family, I would argue the reason why we struggle with that is, first of all, most Black families of color, we have a lot of enmeshment in our family systems, right? So, like, we all feel the same thing, we all do the same thing, we have the same experiences. And so, when we get older and we try to create that separation, we start to feel bad for it because we see these
Right.
boundaries as punishment, right? And like, you're not
Right.
setting boundaries with people, or you shouldn't be setting boundaries with people out of consequence and punishment. We should be setting boundaries so that we can bring people in, so that we can have healthier relationships, so that they know what our needs are, we know what their needs are, and we can have a conversation about if those things can happen, if those needs can
Right.
be met.
Right.
I agree. I would, ugh, that was everything. I would simply piggyback off of that and define it as rules, limitations uh, that are set by someone to establish how they protect their well being.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the parameters, these are the rules in order, like you said, to have a healthy relationship. I need this from you in order to best protect myself and to feel safe in this relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I like to look at them as being like preventative, right?
Yes.
If
Mm.
you go into a relationship and say like, "Hey, these are my expectations. Can you meet them?"
Mm-hmm.
Then we're on the same page. But
Right.
it's when you go into relationships having expectations that are not verbalized,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're wondering why your needs aren't being met. Well, how can people know what it is that you need if you're not expressing it?
Yeah.
And I know for me, ooh, it was hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why can't you read my mind?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I
Because
tell
they're
my,
not you.
and they're not mind readers.
Right.
We really romanticize relationships, friendships in some really weird kind of way. Like my people are just supposed to know what I need. Well, just because you walk around anticipating other people's needs, because you working through some attachment wounds and you dealing with all of these things, doesn't mean that people around you are doing the same thing. And
Right.
you are literally doing yourself a disservice anytime you do not define your boundaries. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be giving all of yourself to this person, to these people,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to be getting shit back.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're going to be resentful, you're going to be angry, you burnt out, you hate the whole world. And then we go from not having boundaries to creating these walls because fuck everybody.
Right.
All because we weren't willing to have these difficult conversations and set these boundaries.
Right.
Yeah, all of that.
And the difficult conversations are there so that you can grow,
Yep.
right? Because if you avoid these difficult conversations, where is the growth?
Right.
Does everyone always have to agree with you? Can
Mm-mm.
no one come up to you and say, like, hey, when you did this, I felt this way?
Mhm.
That is what needs to happen in relationships, right? Friendships, romantic relationships, family.
Mhm.
That is how the conversation I had with my mom went. When this happened, I felt this way.
Mhm.
And and it's unfortunate when people try to have that conversation and the person is not there, right? Can't have that conversation with you. Can't see that accountability piece.
Mhm. But if we keeping it a stack, I think that's where we get boundaries messed up sometimes too. Because we believe that in order to set a boundary, the other person has to receive it and be okay with it. And they don't.
They don't.
So if I set a boundary and I say, all right, when we talking on the phone, if you bring up something that happened last year, I'm gonna hang up. And they're like, okay, do, 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 do. Oh, but you remember last year when you were,
And you
it is
Mhm.
remember when
now
I said
my
it?
job to hang up the phone because I set the boundary. I established the consequence. It's my job to
Right.
maintain that. It's not their job. They gonna do whatever the hell they want to.
They are going to.
Most people aren't even used to boundaries in the first place. They don't even know what they mean. Hell, they don't have
Right.
boundaries with themselves. You know they don't have with other people.
Right.
So it is
And that,
our job to understand that like we set these boundaries for ourselves and we have to uphold them, not other people.
right.
So if your mama don't agree with your boundary,
That's that. She don't have to
she
agree
don't
with
have
it,
to. That's
but
okay.
that doesn't change the fact that this is my boundary, period.
Period.
My
And
mom
it,
always said that you have, as a parent, when your kids are adults, it's a privilege to have a relationship with them.
absolutely.
It
So
is.
keeping that in mind, you know, she also says an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if you are self-aware enough to set boundaries for yourselves in these very intimate relationships with those around you, then you got to do so. You got to name your limitations. You have to be consistent. You have to communicate clearly, and have enough self awareness, self love, whichever it may be, to hold that standard. You know, you can set a boundary, and then when it's tested, because, like you said, people aren't going to always agree with it and falter. That's just going to also lead you right back to resentment.
Right. And we're not trying to have people have resentment or have resentment against people. We're trying to protect ourselves and how
Yeah.
we are navigating this world, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so boundaries go beyond just like relationships, right? You have to have boundaries at work, right? I'll say for me, when the pandemic started and we had to start working from home, a strict boundary I had was once that session, my last session is over, I'm not reading no emails, I'm not checking anything else. Like, I am off the clock, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like my job now. There was a crisis that happened that I was brought in on, and I was very clear. I said, I would like to know what you are expecting because my contracted time to be done is 4:30. And so should this extend beyond that, who are you expecting to stay?
Mm.
Boundaries.
Beautiful.
Because I'm not about to stay. This is not my
Period.
case.
Period. Mhm.
And someone tried to call, well, can you stay? No, ma'am. I have to
Right.
get back to my child.
Right. Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think
And
you make a good point there about the pandemic and boundaries in general, because
mhm,
the pandemic really made, well, boundaries even mercury, even more difficult.
murkier.
Murkier, thank you. It's the rubber band, sure. That's what we're gonna say anyway. But it made it even more difficult because you literally are crammed into a space of you have work, probably school, personal, all of these things, and you're housed in one place at a time. And so it's really hard to say, okay, I'm gonna be done at 5 o'clock. Well, there's nothing going on, right there. Your baby's here, whoever is here, it'll be fine. And next thing you know, you working at 8, 9, but then you pissed off because you look and realize ain't nobody else working but you
Mm.
because you haven't defined those boundaries that you need to have around work and your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even
Um,
before oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask America to piggyback off of that. How much of that boundary setting is self-discipline, would you say?
Most of it is going to be internal regardless. So like even with Jasmine setting her boundary of I'm done at 4:30, be blessed. That was her boundary. So at 4:30, it was then her responsibility to, of course, let me say this for the licensure police, to of course ensure
Right.
that the student was safe and make
Right.
sure that they were okay in that moment so she could take a step back. Okay. But then it's a wrap. It's the end of the day. But what we
Right.
tend to do is, okay, it's 4:30. What? No, they really need us. They really need me here.
Right.
Or no, this really needs to get done. So, okay, I'm gonna suck it up. And then it's 7, 8 o'clock, and
Right.
you mad at them, but you really have to take a step back and say, okay, who do I need to be mad at? Yourself, because
Right.
you set the boundary and you didn't maintain it. So actually, I take that back. 100% of it is about yourself.
All right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, ooh, this one might like, ooh, fuck people up. But if you are unable to keep the boundaries that you make for yourself, saying like, oh, I'm gonna work out this many days, I'm gonna do this. Like, if you're unable to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then you're saying that your word doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't honor your word, how do you expect other people to honor it?
Right. If
Ooh,
you're
I
not
don't
in
think it's possible.
that, yeah. Yeah.
And so look at your life and look at your boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and see what you need to kind of work on, right? Because if you're always so tired because you're picking up all these extra shifts and you're doing all this for everyone else, but you're not taking that step back and saying like, should I be doing this? How can I how can I create a life that makes more sense to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because me extending myself for everyone else is not making sense to me.
Right.
Which, side note, I was on a ride with Alex Toussaint, and he said, "You have to sacrifice yourself for everyone, and that's how
Ugh,
you live a longer life."
lies,
I was ready to punch the screen.
lies. That's how you have an earlier death.
Literally.
Uh,
Centering other people and ignoring your needs every single time.
right.
But then you got to think too, like you have, and I love Alex, so you know, ain't no shade Alex, but you have people who are motivational speakers or people who have these large platforms, or even if you grew up in the church, you've been taught that like your role is to offer compassion to other people. You center the needs of other people. You do for people before you do for yourself. And then for Black women in particular, we take this and we like hold on to it. And this
Right.
becomes our whole identity. Well, like, I got to show up for people. No, it's okay. Like, I'll just do it. I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Right.
I don't want to feel guilty for saying no. So no, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And you do this so that you can keep peace within your relationships, or peace because it's
Peace.
superficial as hell.
Right. Right.
But then you internally are in chaos and turmoil because you are feeling resentment because you're doing all this shit you don't really want to do.
Right.
But you have people reinforcing this belief that that's how we're supposed to live. Take care of other people before you take care of yourself. Do for others. You want to feel, even T-Pain in the AFO Ride Friday, he said it costs nothing to be nice to people or something. And then he was like, so go out and do whatever you can for other people. I ain't never pressed in so quick in my life because why would I do that? He said go take,
Immediately no.
he said go take everything you have and now give it to somebody. Why?
Immediately no.
That's crazy. I love you. I'm gonna buy you a drink and then I'm gonna exit out because what are we doing?
Right.
We have to stop this narrative that we are supposed to be sacrificial lambs and martyrs in relationships. And you wonder why Black women are dying from heart attack and heart disease. We wonder why Black women have the highest numbers of all of the things. It's not because Black women are lazy, not because we have too much salt. It's not all of that. It's because of racism.
Period.
Okay. And it's because of misogyny, because that's the belief. I'm supposed to take care of everybody else and fuck me. Mm-mm.
Right.
No. Mm-mm.
And my
Dead.
favorite thing about our generation is that we see that that's a bunch of bullshit. And so it seems like we are trying to prioritize ourselves so that we can then, I said it seems, and I'm going to walk it back and say for myself.
There you go, because I was going to say, baby.
I'm like, I'm going to walk it all the way back and say for me and myself, you know, I'm
Okay.
prioritizing myself so that I can be there for those that are equally there for me.
Yeah.
Period. Because if it's not mutual, I'm not there.
Right.
And
I'm
that's
just
my
add,
boundary.
Right.
piggyback off of that. I'm just gonna add 2 cents to it. One, put your mask on before somebody else's mask in the event of an emergency.
Oh, girl, I was like, yes, put your mask on, COVID.
But also wear your mask, okay? Because we're still in a
Also,
pandemic.
wear your mask.
We're actively
I was trying to give the visual of like if the plane is
the
going.
airplane. Yeah, I got you.
And 2, you can't pour into another cup. You can't pour into someone else's life to be that blessing, to be that positive energy if your cup isn't already full.
Right.
Right.
You know?
With the mask example, I used that early on when I was seeing clients because that was like the easiest way I could think of how to explain why you needed to
Right.
care for yourself. And I will never forget, one of my clients was like, but that's different. On an airplane, if the plane is going down, like that's emergent. That's life or death. Like I have to put my mask on first so I can save other people. And so I sat there for a while and I just looked at her and you could see it click. Baby, this is life or death too. Like that's literally what this life or death. You are in a crisis right now because you are feeling burnt out and unseen and unheard and unappreciated. And you harboring all this guilt and frustration because you refuse to take care of yourself first. Because people think when they say, I'm going to take care of myself, you saying fuck other people.
No.
But you not. You saying I'm going to take care of me first or in addition to.
Mhm.
You can show up for other people and do for yourself too.
Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
impossible.
And that's that on that.
Period.
That's that on that. I do want to add also that in session with your therapist, because of course, if you're listening to this, you should be seeking therapy, that practicing role playing of what those boundaries, what that conversation would look like with the person or people in your life that you would like to, that's completely normal.
Yeah.
You and your therapist should be on a level of rapport to which you could say, I feel blank when blank because blank, and what I need from you is this. Just that simple. And what I like to do is practice best case, worst case, because like you said, people are going to accept it or they're not. So if your therapist needs to, play that role of that other person of what you fear or what is causing you anxiety of what their reaction may be, then let's do it. Best case, worst case scenario. That way you can walk out of the session and feel like, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Because it's just that simple. They're either going to take it or they're not. But if they do take it, it will enrich the relationship.
Yeah.
And to that point about the shoulds, I think the hardest part there, though, is a lot of people don't feel safe. Like people are in relationship with people, will lay down with men or women or whomever, lay down with other people, I'm talking about romantic relationships right now, engage in all of the things, do you name it, they gonna do it, but don't feel safe enough to have conversations about boundaries. And I think it also goes back to this myth that when you are setting boundaries and having these conversations, that it somehow makes you needy. Are you doing too much for telling people how you feel and what you need?
Right.
So you mean to tell me you can have a whole baby with a whole other person, carry said baby for 8-9 months, have the baby, but then not feel comfortable enough to talk to your partner about what you need and what the new boundaries look like as y'all are now parents? That's doing too much. You birthed a whole human baby. If we take the baby out of it, you mean to tell me you can lay down with somebody, have sex with them unprotected, and you don't feel safe enough to tell them how you feel or establish what your boundaries are?
Right.
We got some work to do, y'all. That's why I made that face when you said we're getting better. I mean, I think we make it look good for Instagram. It's real cute. Yes. The aesthetic is say no, bitch, fuck these right. But I can tell you for a fact, it ain't.
Baby, you're right.
It's not happening. It sounds good, but it's not consistent at all.
No, you're right. I would just like to walk that back. It was a heat of the moment take. Wishful, but hopefully people are like listening to this conversation about boundaries and seeing like, oh, have I been violating people's boundaries? Or, oh, do I need to set some boundaries for myself? Mm-hmm. Is that what's missing? Is that the missing piece?
Yes.
It is.
The answer is yes.
The answer will always be yes.
It's immediately yes.
Always.
Collect your 200 and proceed to go.
And go.
Mm-hmm.
I gave some examples of how I navigate boundaries, like at work, and in relationships. Do you all have any other examples you want to tell the people about?
I do. I, last year, after 29 years of life, set a healthy boundary with my dad.
Yay.
And so telling you the story, we were on vacation and my mom and I were on the phone, and I'm in the car with my dad, my two brothers, and my dad's current wife. And my mom and I are talking, and a comment's made, and it ensues into like this whole just awkward debacle. And we finally get to a destination, and that awkward moment led my dad and I to have a talk where I basically established that, like, hey, I don't appreciate when you say negative things about my mom, even if it's like, it's crazy. And I say that in the context of like, I'm 29 years old and there's still the tit for tat between your baby mama and your baby daddy. You know, you both have like gone through your first marriages after your relationship having me, and you know, and so going into my 30th year, my whole thing was like, literally I had to say to both my parents was like, the baby is 30, what are you still fighting about?
Literally.
And telling my father as a woman that when you say those things about my mom, and it's been years of it, that how do you think that makes me feel? I'm half of her and I'm half of you. You don't say that about my bonus mom, your son's mother. It's just, you know what I mean? And so but it's also a different dynamic, you know? We've all had those crazy relationships in our early 20s. And I happen to be a child of a product of that type of relationship. And it only looks silly that now 30 years, there's still something to be said behind one another.
Right.
So breaking it down to him, expressing how it made me feel, and setting the boundary of like, rule 101, don't talk about my mama, or we're going to have a problem. That can go for someone on the street. And as a woman, it can go for my father as well.
Correct.
And setting that boundary with him, to this day, he respects it. And it has made our relationship easier. It allows me to open up more. I don't have that defense or that guard up because he honored the boundary. And also because he honored the boundary, it sets a precedent for his current wife that she must also do so. And then lets our relationship breathe a little bit more. So again, I can say that after years of, you know, we talked about early childhood stuff, and I mean, it was all my life it's been hard. And to get to that point and say that it's so much easier and it's better on the other side. But it takes our parents respecting that we are adults and that it is a privilege to have relationships with us at this point. So shout out to my dad. Yeah.
And shout out to you.
Shout out to you.
For setting
Yeah.
that boundary. I'm proud of you, girl.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that mess can be hard, but it's worth it.
It is. And my dad's a veteran. He's a tough guy. So to be a military kid, those out there listening that get it, it was, yeah. It was a whole thing.
Mine is also a veteran.
Oh,
So I understand 175%. Well, I don't have a specific story around setting boundaries, but people call me the boundary queen. And I think that's because I really walk this interesting line of, I don't want to be nice. My focus is being kind. And my focus is having lasting relationships, meaningful relationships where I'm able to be my true self. And so that is why I set boundaries with people. And sometimes, especially early on, having those conversations was hard because there was some fear of disappointment. There was a little bit of people pleasing, especially when we're talking about with my mom. With my dad, it was easy for me to set boundaries because once they got divorced, to me, that was my boundary. Hell, I had set boundaries when he was still in the house. I'm not about to talk to you. So when they got divorced, then it was a whole lot easier there. So it was like, I don't have to answer the phone. If I don't want to answer the phone, I don't have to engage with you if I don't want to engage with you. With her, it's been a little different because we have been through the trenches together. So once I grew up, got out the house, and it has been within like the last probably 3 to 4 years where like my boundaries have gotten really solid. And for that, it's been difficult because it's like we've been sharing the same experiences for 30 some years. We've been like feeling the feels together. We do it together. She tells people like I'm her best friend, and she's my best friend. And so a lot of that has been like, okay, in this big grown age though, there's some boundaries that I have to set. And these are boundaries around my time. These are boundaries around the conversations that we're going to have, how long I'm going to engage in these conversations. And if you don't follow through with that, and I'll say like, ma, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you did say, okay, we good. And then ma, because I believe in giving folks warnings, right? I'm not just going to hang up. I'm going to give you a solid 2.5 warnings. That last ma, I'm not going to say it twice. I'm going to say it once. Ma. Okay, bet. All right, I got to go. I understand that right now this is something you want to talk about. I can't do this right now.
Right.
So I got to go. And at first, y'all, I used to be sick.
Yep.
I used to be sick.
Yeah.
I would be sick. How dare I get off the phone? You know you're her bestie. Like you gotta nah, sis, I can't. I can't do it. And I can't, so I don't. And so it's been hard, at least in that relationship. I don't have no problems nowhere else. I'm gonna tell you what I want. If you don't do it, you gotta worry about it. Keep pushing. But in that one has been the hardest for me to navigate. So a lot of that has been really acknowledging the guilt that comes up. And in the same way I tell my clients, first of all, guilt is probably one of the most useless emotions, but also guilt indicates that you're doing something wrong. So then I have to check in. All right, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. I'm doing something different than what the basis of our relationship had been for those 28, 29 years. So that's why it felt icky. But like, what was my why? My why was so that when we talk, it's fun and it's engaging. And yeah, we can have difficult conversations, but I can't talk about this, that, and the third. And so then it makes it easier for us to connect and have these fun, loving, that's my bestie conversations because I'm very clear on what that looks like for us now. Mm-hmm. And it allows me to be in my role. It allows me now to be in my role. I am her adult child / her bestie, but I am not her adult child who is also her bestie, her second mom, her therapist, her this. Right. No, I am her adult child.
Right. Yeah.
And that has done wonders. And allow for me to start having my own feelings. Like now I get to feel my own feelings. I'm not responsible for your feelings. I wanted to be for so long, but like I'm not. I gotta focus on mine and figure out what that looks like for me. So that's been super helpful and hard as hell.
Yes. But
yeah. I did have a story.
But if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Period.
You know.
Period.
You know what type of time we own. But we got a lot more to say about boundaries.
Hold on.
We're not gonna say it
ain't
today. We gonna hit y'all. We gonna let y'all marinate on this, and then we gonna bring it back.
Correct.
Okay. And we want y'all to use the hashtag boundaries AF. Yes, boundaries AF. And let us know your story that you have about boundaries and how boundaries has been helpful for you. You know, what came up for you when you were setting boundaries. You know, just let's get that combo going. Okay? And what else did I want to say? Commitment? Did we do commitments last time? It's been a couple of weeks since we've met, so I don't recall.
I don't think we did it last time.
Does anyone have anything that they want to commit to working on this week?
Okay, I got one. Oh no, that's telling my business. Okay, hold on.
I said that was me.
Woo, that's telling my
I'm gonna
business.
upholding my boundaries in the meantime of us circling back around to this. But I'm still hydrating. I'm still moisturizing.
We love it.
And I'm still that girl.
We love a
Period. And will
hydrated,
always be.
moisturized queen. We love it.
Do. We do.
We do. We do.
Okay, I love that. I think that I am going to continue with the boundaries that I'm setting, like with social media. I done turn private. You know, I'm not stooping down to the miserable. So just continuing on that, maintaining my boundaries so that social media stays like a fun place to be
Mm.
sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Because it should be a place for connection, even though the
Even though I see some messiness going on in my mentions right now, that's them. She ain't got nothing to do with that.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a boundary.
Correct.
One of my clients told me they was staying in they was minding their business and that was their boundary. I said,
Correct.
I know that's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would say my commitment this week is somewhat related to social media and not getting wrapped up in the bullshit. Not necessarily the Discord. I don't really care. I have a 10-second moment about it. I cuss at folks when I read their stuff. I keep it pushing. But more of a commitment to myself of not getting so focused on the content creation and so focused on like, I gotta keep pushing this out. I gotta keep talking my shit. I gotta keep this. No, I don't. And so I can, but making sure that I have stricter boundaries around it. There's no reason why I wake up at 2 a.m. and I have an idea for a TikTok and I gotta write it down. That's wild as hell. Like, no, ma'am. We'll worry about it tomorrow. So that's my commitment. Ooh, my commitment for this week.
Yes. Come on, content cutie. But yes, we hope that you all got something great out of this conversation. I did. America talking about the walls and the sand, lines in the sand. Love that. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter, Instagram, Seek Therapy Podcast, and use the hashtag BoundariesAF because we're gonna pull up on y'all.
Here.
And just a quick reminder that you can drink the water, the 2 gallons of water. I don't know how anyone would do that, but if you did, eat the kale, dance to Renaissance 14 times a day like me, do CrossFit. But if you are, what else they can do? Say it.
I wasn't gonna say that. I was gonna say I still haven't listened to Renaissance.
Oh.
I know. I just wanted to drop a ball real quick.
It's time to wrap this
We'll
up.
see y'all next week.
See y'all. Like I said, seek therapy.
It's straight Renaissance.
Woo! Okay.
Yes,
My bad.
but if you are not dealing with the things going on in your head and in your heart, then you're still not truly healthy. So go ahead and seek therapy. We all need it, period.
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 Bye.
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 Guys.